I'm a 59-year-old male. My wife is no longer with us, and we had 5 kids together. I am putting those 5 kids for my inheritance in the will. However, for 2 of those children, I've decided to not give the money to them up front when I pass away. It's going to go into some sort of plan so they can access it over the years. Well, they're extremely not happy about this once they found out the other 3 children get the money right away. But let me explain to you exactly why I did this. My now deceased ex-wife and I have 5 children together. 21 female, 24 female, 28 male, 30 male, and 35 male. A few years ago, their mother passed away and left each of them a very large inheritance, over $300,000 each, evenly distributed amongst them. Prior to her passing, she made it clear to them that this money was not to be wasted. It was to 1, pay off debt, 2, use to further education, and 3, put towards buying a house in the future. 2 of my children, 24 female and 28 male, have completely squandered this money in just a couple of years. My daughter spent it all traveling across the world, living this carefree style, living in these nice hotels and eating fancy dinners. I completely understand going on a vacation, but to blow all of it on travel against her mother's wishes? Well, that's bloody shameful. My son, though, oh man, he's even worse. He's literally spent it all on drugs, alcohol, even escorts, all over time. None going towards self-improvement as their mother wanted. So I continued to hound them over this time and time again until, as expected, it's all bloody wasted. Once this happened, I decided to cut both of them out of my will, as I don't want my hard-earned money being squandered so my children can live this hedonistic lifestyle for a couple of years. I told this to their siblings in confidence so that they would be prepared to deal with the fallout when I eventually pass away. One of them, not sure who, let it slip to them, and now they've gone off the deep end and proclaimed that I'm, quote, dead to them, and they don't have a dad, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into some long, bitter feud with my kids, but dang if I'm going to have my life wasted by them also. Any advice on how to fix this? I just don't want my savings wasted. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. So today's story we're looking at first is going to be this family drama. Just so you know, there is an update that came out 5 days after the original post. If you're new to the channel, I hope that you guys are enjoying the story so far, and if you want more daily stories of similar topics, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Here is update number 1. So, I took the advice of the previous thread, which was overwhelmingly to consider setting up a trust for my 2 problem children. Before I even invited the 2 of them over to talk the issue, my son called me to apologize for how he was acting. He seemed genuinely ashamed of things he said, and admitted that it was wrong of him to waste his mother's savings like that. Anyways, I invited the 2 of them over to tell them my plans. As I say, my son seemed very apologetic, while my daughter was clearly still upset with me. I told them that I would reinstate their inheritance, but since they've demonstrated extremely poor money management, that I will only do so through a trust fund. That I'd talk with a proper lawyer or financial expert on setting it up, and they'd be designed to provide for them and any future children they have over many years after I'm gone. That them blowing through it in a few years is simply not an option. Well, the son took the news very well and said he would not trust himself with that money anyways. I'm not sure what caused such a sudden change of heart in my son, but as I say, it seemed genuine. He also offered to go to therapy for his drug addiction if I helped pay for it, to which I agreed. I'll make sure this therapist actually exists, don't worry. My daughter, though, oh boy, she did not take it well. Far worse than I've expected. Here, I'm willing to give them a second chance, and she just blows up about how it's not fair that it's only them that don't get the money outright. I explained that their siblings have already demonstrated they were responsible with money, and hence why I'd leave it to them outright. Nope, not good enough for her. She doubles down that spending all of her mother's $300,000 on travel was justified, and she had the gall to again call me several extremely upsetting names and accuse me of being emotionally abusive. Yeah. So I told my daughter that I'm retiring soon. Perhaps I should experience the joys of travel also. Perhaps I should spend her inheritance that I've worked for my entire life on travel myself. At that point, she stormed out and hasn't contacted me since. I'm just really proud of how my son's taking the news. Extremely disappointed with my daughter. Genuinely considering spending, quote, her part of the inheritance on travel myself at this point. Let me know what you guys think. Alright, so you heard the story. Let me know your thoughts about it. And right now, I'll read a similar situation comment from the comment section. It says this. About a year ago, before he died, my dad decided he wanted to sell his house and go into an assisted living. The place he chose was really nice, the kind of place you'd want to live out your final days. But he was hesitant to do so because he didn't want to, in his words, spend his kids' inheritance. My siblings and I totally disagreed. I told him that living the life he deserved was exactly how we wanted to spend the money. As it turned out, he died after 6 months, and he did leave us an inheritance. But the knowledge that he spent his final days in a place that he loved, to us, that was worth more than anything. So guys, let me know your opinions on this story. If you've ever had anything similar to this, and you want to share your experience, drop it down below. We still have 2 more stories to cover in today's video. The next story is titled this. OP exposed his family to a toxic cancer-causing element while running his home. 2 weekends ago, me and my wife decided it was time to replace our falling apart laminate floors. The location of the laminate we were replacing was in the kitchen, dining room, family room, living room, and main hallway. I don't know, we thought it would be nice to have all the rooms including the kitchen and dining room all on one floor. So, we ripped up all the old click laminate in the hallways and family room, and we found original 1970s vinyl underneath it. Since we planned on laying the floating floors again, we decided to leave it alone. We proceeded to chip up all the tile in the kitchen, making our way to the dining room. We got the tile up in the kitchen, and we were left with an absolute mess of thin set. So I googled the easiest way to get up the thin set. I found a video on YouTube showing how to use a grinder with a shop vac attachment and diamond grinding wheel. I went to town, and it worked, and I treated a lot, and I was super proud of how well it came out. Here's where my story goes south. 2 days later, my dad came over to check the progress we made. I was showing him the kitchen, explaining the process I used to quickly and take the thin set off. My father proceeded to look at the floor and asked what was the material on it. I said it's concrete. It appeared to be anyways. He said, no it's not. He proceeded to grab a utility knife and cut a small square of material off the floor where I've ground down the thin set. It was a paper-like material that was brittle. He said it looked to be paper backing that came with the old vinyl sheet flooring. He looked over the family room, saw the old sheet flooring, and told me that I needed to get out of the house and get the materials tested. So, I packed up the wife and kids and headed to my parents' house for the weekend. Yesterday, the testing company came out and took samples from all over the house. Today we received the results. Both the vinyl in the family room, etc., and the paper that was below the thin set tested positive for asbestos. The paper stuff below the thin set tested positive for 15% white crystalline asbestos. The story gets worse. I test ground a spot on Wednesday night and did a little bit more on Thursday night. We live in southern Florida and we ran the AC overnight both nights. I then continued to finish the job on Friday. The AC was off all day Friday because I pulverized the asbestos into a fine powder. Literally the absolute worst thing you can do. And even though I was running the shop vac pulling up the material as I went, it didn't have a HEPA filter and just had a regular collection bag, so therefore, the asbestos, through the help of my AC, was contaminating the entire house. I exposed my family to a very toxic, cancer-causing element and effectively ruined my home because I didn't know what I was doing. Something so innocent as to just wanting to lay floors has turned into an absolute nightmare. I consider myself lucky, because if it wasn't for my father, we would have just continued to lay the floor and just cleaned up the mess and never had a second thought about it, just lived in it. The one thing I don't understand is why there isn't more awareness about this type of stuff. Like, seriously, there should be freaking commercials, Super Bowl commercials, warnings at Home Depot, pamphlets, something. Heck, even the guy at the freaking flooring store could have said something. Hey, go ahead, buddy, and make sure you check what's underneath your old floors before you lay the new one. I asked the asbestos tester that, based on her experience, was it common for homeowners to do exactly what I did and never know about it? She said, probably about 90% of people who do do-it-yourself work don't test and do not know what they even have contaminated their home or not. She told me that some contractors are even worse because they do so many homes. They're often working with unskilled labor that doesn't know or don't care and just rip it up, contaminating the area and leave. Anyways, sorry for the wall of text, but I literally feel sick about what's happened. We have no access to anything in the home, and we'll likely have to trash the clothing, sheets, and basically any fabrics in the home. We're in the position where we can afford to fix this problem, but honestly, it's clearing us out. Let my mistake be a lesson to you all. Stay safe, guys. Update number 1. Well, it was bad. As bad as I thought it would be. I received 4 quotes for the decontamination and removal of the rest of the asbestos containing floors, which range from $17,000 all the way up to $38,000. All contractors I spoke with told me essentially the same thing, that all this porous materials had to be disposed of, and that my fiberglass AC duct also has to go. The contractor went up with ending of the cost of $22,000 and another $6,800 for the ceiling repairs and refinishing. So here I am, a month and a half into this nightmare, and we just had our clearance testing done. 2 air samples out of 9 failed. The concentration for the worst one was up to 340 SCC, and at the other 140. This was after a negative air machine was running 24 hours a day for weeks, and after the cleaning of every hard surface. My contractor told me that in 24 years he's never failed any clearance air sample test. He also said this was the first time he's ever seen someone grind the material. He's heard of it, just never seen it. But this is just going to show how high the concentration of asbestos was in the air when I originally ground the material. So, the second round of cleaning and air filtration is happening right now as I write this. All in all, we lost all our couches, mattresses, clothing, towels, sheets, pretty much anything that had fabric on it. The ceilings had to be trenched in order to pull the AC ductwork out without contaminating the attic, as well as my air handler having to be completely disassembled and cleaned. All of this happened because I didn't know what I was doing. Had I just chipped up some of the tiles and recognized what was under the thin set, I would have never ground it up, but I didn't know what I was looking at. Luckily, my father did. I can't stress this enough. If you're in an old house, and if you're going to be performing your own demolition work on anything that could even remotely contain asbestos, vinyl floors, mastic, popcorn, joint compound, really old insulation, siding, etc., spend the $20 on a do-it-yourself test kit and wait a week for the result. I can't stress enough how much of a pain in the butt it is to get rid of asbestos once it's in the air. $50 and 1 week delay to your project is a heck of a lot cheaper, and well, safer than what I'm going through right now. Also, if it is abscessus, go online. Get disposable Tyvek suits and respirators P100. Be safe. A one-time hit of abscessus isn't the worst, but it sure as crap isn't good. Be careful with that stuff. Wow, could you imagine being in that situation, putting your family at risk because you want to start sand dusting stuff? Anyways, here's the top comment. It says this: to make matters even more fun, odds are high that at some point some of the paint in the house has lead in it. Lead paint was banned 1 year after abscessus in the States. Test for lead and abscessus before any home improvement project, folks. It's cheap, easy, and will save your life and your children's. Unless your building was built after 1980. If someone has done work since then and it looks like a renovated area, you should definitely check it out. So that's some good advice, guys. Let me know if you've ever had a mold problem or run into something similar to this story. Now, it's time for our final story of the day. The title for that is, Am I the A-hole for not stating why certain members of my family were not invited to my wedding? Recently, my boyfriend and I of 4 years got married. I come from a very traditional, if not stereotypical, Latino family. The gossip is deeply ingrained in the whole family. I have about 7 uncles, which of one is also bisexual like myself. He got married some time ago, and he sent out invitations to the whole family. A large majority of them declined because of, quote, religious reasons, which really saddened him. I kept this in mind when it came time to send out my invitations, and those particular family members, well, they didn't get one. About a week ago, my husband and I went to my dad's house for the annual family reunion. I just really didn't want to go because I knew in the back of my mind this was absolutely going to get around. Despite the lack of posting on any social media, but my dad and mom really wanted me there. They're very supportive and the quote, be loud, be proud type people, and I love them to death for it, even if it's a little obnoxious. I voiced this concern to my father, and he was very insistent that if it goes south, he'll be right there to laugh about it with me. The entire time, my husband and I were getting some intense side eyes. The family that did not attend didn't even try to hide the fact that they were whispering about my husband and I. About 2 hours later, I'm 6 or so Jack and Cokes in. The straight uncle took initiative and decided to, quote, ambush me and ask why they weren't invited. I was polite and reminded them that they turned down the bi uncle's wedding for the religious reasons. They responded with at least wanting to be thought about and being invited. I told them that I did think about them and decided they weren't worth the 57-cent stamp to be told they weren't going to attend for bigoted reasons. It would be understanding to say that the reaction was less than pleased. Crap hit multiple fans. My uncles went off for being compared to a postage stamp. My dad was eating it up. My mom was a little mad at me for causing a disturbance in her home, though, which unfortunately made me question everything at the moment. My grandmother was giving me the judges in Spanish look. My husband kind of grabbed my hand and said, let's get out of here before you make anyone else mad, in a laughing manner, and proceeded to drive us home. My dad sent me a, that's my boy, good on you for standing up for yourself text. My mom was still less thrilled about how things went down. My bi uncle sent me a text saying, thank you for standing up for me, but now my relationship with my brother is strained to heck, and I didn't want that. My phone and social media have absolutely been blowing the heck up ever since, but I'm kind of ignoring it. But I do feel bad for my uncle because he just wants to be close with all his brothers and not just one. So, am I the a-hole for how things went down? What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. So I found the update for this post, but it's an interesting one. The update is basically saying, hey, my family members found my original post, and this is how they reacted. So we're going to jump into that now. I hope you guys are having a great day. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, and let's see what's going on with the opinions of the family members. Well, as I guessed, family did indeed find this. Between 7 uncles, one of my cousins likely shown them the post that I made. It was obviously not received well, LOL. Anyways, I'm just going to go down the list in order of things and events that happened. My dad. First off, he wanted me to tell all you he loved all the support, and he wishes Dad all of you as well. His words were this exactly. It took 2 of us to make you, and I gotta say I love my work. Any parent that doesn't should never have tried. My mom says this. She called me asking why I brought up the event of my uncle's wedding, and I told her that I was simply having a good time with my husband and everybody else. That my uncles made the conscious decision to want to start a problem. She got mad at me and said she just wanted to have a good party. I told her that I didn't want to be attacked for my sexuality and not inviting blatant bigots to my wedding, but that I'm glad her party meant more. We got into a shouting match over the phone, and I told my father what happened, and he's livid with her. They got into a fight, and now she's staying at my grandmother's. I've apologized profusely to my dad, but he's telling me to let it go and that I've done nothing wrong. Above all else, this is what hurts the most. She was always so very supportive of me, and it feels like a massive bombshell was just dropped somewhere. My bi-uncle. Unbeknownst to me, my husband invited him over so he and I could have a heart-to-heart about what happened. I mean, it annoyed me a little, but I'm glad he did invite him over. We talked about the post I made, and he saw everyone's comments. According to him, it kind of opened him up, that crap he was just ignoring, so he could pretend to have a close bond with all his brothers. At the same time, he's still not sure what to do from here. We talked for a few hours, had a good old cry hug, and everything's good on the front, and it makes me happy. He'll be seeking therapy to help him deal with his feelings on this. Now, time for the other uncles. Obviously, they're livid with me. They could not believe that I would post something that was blasting them on the interwebs. They said they didn't like being painted the way I posted them, so I just straight up asked them if they thought my bi-uncle was going to hell because of his marriage. To my shock, they had absolutely no problem saying yes. They didn't even try to dance around the subject. In the end, I told them if they didn't want to be painted as bigots, to lose the religious bigoted act, plain and simple. My husband has been nonstop trying to comfort me after shouting matches with my mother. He can see the immense pain that I am, and I love that man so much. He took me out for steak and old fashions the other night just to help me get a little relaxed. Well, anyways, that's it now. I just hope everyone has a great night. Thanks all. So basically, the comment section of this one was just a lot of people supporting OP. Here's one of the top ones. Stick with the people who clearly support you. Your dad and husband are wonderful. And the fact that your uncle is willing to sit and have a mature conversation with you shows that he's worth having around as well. Your mother, though, seems to have the performative, quote, I'll support this until it's not inconvenient for me to do so attitude, and I hope she sees the light soon. Well, duck everybody else. Guys, let me know your thoughts about this story, or if anything in your family household, or immediate family, or far away family, or neighbors, or friends have ever gone through something like this. Drop your thoughts down. That's all the stories for today. I hope you enjoyed today's content. Let me know your thoughts, guys. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.